It is time for Illini basketball here on the Your Illini Nation pregame show. Andy Olson, Derek Piper with you here. It's been a long layoff, Derek, for Illinois. Last time we saw them 8 days ago as they were taking on Tennessee down in Knoxville. And Derek, fun matchup here with Colgate today. No Orange Crush. Should be interesting turnout from the fan base, but good to be having basketball back again here at the State Farm Center.
Yeah, hopefully not too many people want to stay home and watch my Chicago Bears. Even though, admittedly, I'll be checking the score on my laptop as this thing goes along. But a good matchup today. A very interesting one. You're going to face a Colgate team that's been to the NCAA tournament each of the last 3 years. So sometimes when you get to non-conference, you have these bye games where you're going to play teams that, the Ken Pop 300s, some of the bottom of the barrel in terms of Division I, where admittedly you can play not even your best game and win by 30 points. This is not one of those games. Colgate is a legit test. When the schedule came out, this is one that kind of circled as, all right, it's a little bit of a tricky, don't be sleepy on your home court type of game, because they could definitely get you. So I'm excited to see how Illinois, coming off the finals week, how they kind of are able to revamp and how energized they are. I do think that Colgate has gotten their attention, just at least based on what they told us on Friday. Ty Rogers, both Brad Underwood as well, saying, hey, we know how good they are, so we're going to be up and ready to play. So hopefully that is the case, because if not, Colgate can definitely put you in a position to be chasing them and be a dangerous one, because they've beaten Syracuse each of the last 2 years. They were up by 24 there at the Carrier Dome earlier this season. Just ended up letting that one go. And also they just played a tight first half or so against Arizona, who was the top-ranked team in the country until losing to Purdue yesterday. So excited for this one. Yeah, let's get it going again.
A lot of good basketball yesterday. You mentioned that Arizona-Purdue game where the Boilermakers seem to reassert themselves as the best team in the country, which makes that matchup at the beginning of January that much more fun. Just a couple of games left now, Derek, until we're getting back into the Big Ten play. And for Illinois, they're coming off a big stretch away from the State Farm Center, like you mentioned. Of course, that game against Tennessee, but before that, we were out in the East Coast, take on Florida Atlantic, beat them at Madison Square Garden, start Big Ten play at Rutgers, and beat the Scarlet Knights. But like you said, this is no down point in their schedule. They still have Missouri coming up at the end of this week. Fairleigh Dickinson the week after that. So still 3 big games leading into the start of the new year, Big Ten play. And it doesn't seem like Illinois really has a break in any of those games where they can really let their guard down.
No doubt. Yeah, you don't want to be in a situation where you're taking out your loss at home. I know this wouldn't be the same type of game, but Northwestern is a good example of what can happen where you have a big win like Illinois did against FAU. Northwestern beats Purdue on their home court, and they have a big letdown at home and lose to Chicago State. So Colgate is much better than that Chicago State squad, but it just kind of gives you the picture of, hey, if you let down and you let a team that you maybe on paper you might overlook come in here and play well, that you could be in trouble. So this is going to be a good test. This is one that you probably expect to see Colgate in the tournament once again this year. They're the preseason favorites in the Patriot League and got some good players on their squad. So it will be I know Brad's talked about it. We can kind of dive into this as well. Like, you think mid-major, you think usually smaller team that maybe shoots a lot of threes, which they are capable of. This has been a team that in the last few seasons has been one of the better three-point shooting teams in the country, but they've got a lot of size. You look at Ryan Moffitt, 6'7" on the wing, and then down low, Keegan Records, who's a 6'10" big guy that posts up a ton. This is a team that on paper posts up just about as much as anybody in the country outside of Purdue. So they're going to feed the ball inside. They're going to play a couple of big guys together along with Moffitt on the wing at 6'7". So this is kind of and Brad mentioned this on Friday, a little bit of a snapshot of what a Big Ten team might look like going into league play, just knowing the size you typically see in the Big Ten. So I think it's going to be a good test for Illinois to see how they handle that and really just trying to take care of business on your home court, trying to continue to further momentum. They did some really good things on their road trip. Fell just short against Tennessee, but that's not obviously a bad loss by any means. So I feel like they built some steps and put some things together, especially offensively, over the last few games, and we'll see if it can continue against this squad here today.
Yeah, you just look down the court and you see just the size that Colgate has that you mentioned. That's not always the case when some of these mid-major, low-major teams come in here, like you mentioned. They look almost just as big as the Illini, so definitely something to look out for in this one. Nicolo Moretti still out for this game. We saw him on the sideline wearing his boots still, so he's still recovering from that foot injury. Once again, Ty Rogers most likely going to start at point guard. He has every game this season. The only change in the starting lineup was when Coleman Hawkins was down. Now that he's had a few games back, Derek, what have you thought about his contribution to the team, specifically defensively? Because if you look at, I believe it was that FAU game when he was off the court versus when he was on it, I think the same with Tennessee, night and day for the Illini's defense.
Yeah, it's been great to see a guy that's very active. We know that he's got a lot of ability with his length and just how mobile he is for that size to cover a lot of ground. And he's a very heady player, instinctual, a lot of ability to be in the right spots and get deflections and steals. So I think that that's something that I've definitely seen out of him here recently. And then just in comparison to Dane Danger, and really it's not trying to knock Dane too much, because guys that are big men really usually aren't that mobile and usually can't cover a whole lot of ground. But when he's in the game with the 5 versus Coleman, there's definitely a difference in terms of when guys put, the big man for Illinois, whether that be Coleman or Dane, in ball screens. Dane just doesn't have as much of an ability to really cover a lot of weak spots in open space against defenses. So Coleman's ability out there, we know that he's versatile. He can go on the perimeter if you need to. He can go inside. So that's been better. I just think some of the time off has allowed him to move better, has allowed him to maybe refocus. I think early in the season, obviously he was struggling offensively, but I feel like that spilled over a little bit into his defense, where he was kind of making some uncharacteristic mistakes and maybe just not having his awareness up, maybe being a little too much in his emotions, and then learning about the knee issue as well. Then you kind of get the feel of, all right, this is a guy that's not 100% physically either. So defensively, he's been very good. Offensively, it was great to see him knock down some threes against Tennessee and kind of get that confidence back. Early on, when he first came back, I think he was a little hesitant, maybe just a little out of sync, out of rhythm. But we know that when he has the ability to space the floor and knock down shots, I think especially as you look at this game with Colgate, they got their center 6'11", 270. So I think that as you looked at that with Coleman's ability to pull him away for the basket, open up that lane, as we talk about a lot about it for Terrence Shannon and guys to get downhill. But also, if you don't get out and cover Coleman, and he takes those in rhythm threes, those shots that you can live with, it's the off the dribble, setback, pull ups, those type of things that he kind of overcomplicates sometimes. But I like that he's kind of build some confidence with his shot. He hit that big one, that big 3 late against FAU, and then went on the road to Tennessee and knocked down some threes. So that was good to see.
Well, it is Christmas time here at the State Farm Center. We're playing Christmas carols earlier, and I know that everything's all done up on the scoreboard for Christmas. I see some Santa hats out there as well. What an opportunity it is for Illinois women's basketball as well today. First time in my time covering the Illini that there's been a double hitter. So Illinois men's basketball going at 12. That one on Big Ten Network. And then after that, at 3 o'clock, Illinois women's basketball has their bragging rights. Missouri in town. It's a fun opportunity, I feel like, for fans, because they can stay between games. And I imagine it'll probably be the biggest crowd of the season for Shauna Green's squad, and they deserve it, especially for how they played last year. And they're looking to maybe find their footing a bit this season.
Yeah, really cool idea by Illinois to pull this off and to get some people to stick around and stay for that game. And, I mean, let's be honest, you're trying to find ways to boost the attendance for women's basketball, which, to their credit, has driven interest up a lot here since Shauna Green got into town. So you have a big game of bragging rights. You're trying to get back on the right footing after losing the Big Ten opener against Michigan and getting blown out a little bit in that one. But, they beat Missouri last year. That was a nice win going to Columbia. Now you got them on your home court. And, this is still a team that brought back a lot from last season. There's no question of do they have the pieces to be good this year. It's just really getting back on the right page and then furthering that momentum forward. So hopefully you get enough of a stay around in terms of the crowd and able to win on your home floor and get things going for the women's side. Yeah,
and I am thinking of all of the facilities people who have to turn the arena. I don't know if they're making people leave. I believe people can stay. So that's a lot of time to be here and to flip this court and get it ready for the women's basketball game afterwards as well. I know it's no small task, and it's a great idea from Illinois Athletics. All right, Derek, for this men's game first, let's get maybe some keys that you have for this one, some guys that you're looking out for on either side to make a difference in this one. Because we talked about it with the size. This is probably a unique game that Illinois hasn't really played yet against mid-major, low-major opponent yet this year.
Yeah, I think I'll go back to Keegan Records. He's the preseason player of the year in the Patriot League, and also the preseason defensive player of the year as well. So a guy that about 6'10", 240, good athlete for his size. He's also just really good with his back to the basket. So him playing the 4 is going to post up a lot. We'll see how Illinois matches up with him. I would imagine Coleman's probably going to see a decent amount of him as well, but also a great benefit of having Quincy Guerrier, a piece that Illinois really didn't have in the past, of a physical 4-man that can kind of hold his own on the block, making sure that he's not able to carve out a lot of space, contesting his moves inside, not fouling him, because he can really get it going and finishes well through contact. So Colgate wants to feed him the ball inside a lot to get their offense going. I also think their point guard, Braden Smith, is really good. An ability to light it up from 3 when he's starting to feel it, and he's quick off the bounce, can make some plays in terms of setting other guys up. He's top 10 in the country in assist rate right now. So he's a really quality player. Illinois with Ty Rodgers trying to slow him down, not giving him good looks. And then, of course, being able to attack him effectively at the other end, because he's a guy that doesn't have a lot of size. He's standing about 6 foot tall. If he can get some post-ups, I think Illinois has done a great job offensively, hunting some matchups here recently where they get a small guy on Marcus Damask. Maybe you can do that more with Ty Rodgers if that's the matchup that he sees a lot today. And then, of course, I think another thing that I look at, Colgate wants to play a slow, deliberate pace. They really, when you play to the post, you kind of slow things down. Illinois played an up-and-down game in the last couple against FAU, against Tennessee. Ty Rodgers told us on Friday that they worked a lot here this week on their transition offense. So can you speed up Colgate, kind of get them out of their comfort zone, to make it more of an up-and-down game where they want to play slow? I think Illinois would benefit from putting them in that position. And, of course, as we know, anytime the floor is open for Terrence Shannon Jr., that's good things for Illinois and bad news for the other side.
I like that you dressed up a bit for Christmas with the quarter zip as well.
It feels right. For the weather today?
It does feel right. I think it's going to get even worse tomorrow. No white Christmas, though, this year. I'm a big fan of snow before Christmas.
Yeah, no, we need that.
We need that. Unfortunately,
I don't want it for the drive to Missouri.
No.
For the bragging right. Last year,
it was bad.
Wagner and I were a little worried about that drive down there. But, maybe as we settle back in, either way, before we go there this weekend, definitely once we get home, let it snow, as they say.
Yeah, playing some Christmas carols now. All right, predictions now in this one, Derek, because we're, just under 30 minutes now until tip-off.
I will say, I think last year, and I think back to last year, Alabama and A&M coming in right after finals week, Illinois was in a battle late in that game, really one they shouldn't have been. I don't know if they took them probably too lightly, and I think there is a tendency with finals week kind of have a little bit of a hangover there. I trust this team's leadership, though. I think this is a more mature team. Obviously, you go out and get a lot of veterans in the portal, and you built this roster with a lot of old guys. And I think that Terrence and there's just more leadership, I feel like, on this team. So I think they can handle kind of the distractions that can be finals week better. And I think that Colgate's already got their attention. I would worry if it was like, okay, these guys are kind of overlooking them. Based on what they've said, we'll see. Talk is cheap until you get down to the floor.
Sure.
They've said that they're up for this game. They're not overlooking them. So with that in mind, I think Illinois, while it won't be an easy game, because I respect Colgate as an opponent, I think they can handle their business. They're a 17-point favorite. I don't have them quite covering. 80-65 Illinois, but it's a comfortable win. I think they do have a good showing today.
How do we always do this? I swear I don't look up 3 keys in a pick before this gets started. I just come up with my prediction on the spot. I am sticking 81-65.
Right.
So you're taking 15 points. I'm taking 15 and under. I'll take 16 and over for the difference in this one.
Fair enough.
We'll see who's more correct here. But Derek, like I said, getting close to tip-off now. They can go read those 3 keys in a pick. Fans at home, where can they read that?
Go to Illini Inquirer, 3 keys in a pick. Joey Wagner also wrote about Ty Rodgers coming into his own in terms of just settling into the point guard role, finding his voice as a leader a little bit more, and also trying to up his aggressiveness a little bit offensively. But yeah, Joey, Jeremy, and I are all here to cover this thing. Joey will be sticking around for the women's game to cover that one as well, and let's have some fun on a Sunday.
You guys are going to have to find a new spot to pod.
I know. I was thinking about that.
Typically, after the game, you just sit in any one of these seats, and that's where you do the live post-game pod at.
Yeah.
It's going to be a basketball game going on. I think you guys need to find a new spot.
Maybe we just skip the pod, go home, and watch the end of the Bears game. I'm good with that. I'm fine with that.
We'll float that by your boss and see what Jeremy thinks. All right. Wherever you're watching this right now, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WCIA.com, you can join us after the game for Brad Underwood's full post-game comments. We'll also have the WCIA 3-1 pod, and of course on air after the game as well, 5:30 and 10 tonight. We'll have highlights from this one, highlights from the women's game as well. Should be a very fun day back here at the State Farm Center. Just a couple more of these, 2 more until Big Ten play starts. We get into 2024. Hard to believe already, Derek. Already almost 2 months into the season.
I know.
It's been a fun ride so far.
It has been fun. A quick note, good day for the Big Ten yesterday.
It was.
Like you mentioned already, Purdue beating Arizona, Michigan State just drubbing Baylor. I wrote about it earlier this week. I think it's important that some of these, I know for Illini fans it's hard to maybe root for especially unlikable teams. Like if you saw Indiana yesterday, let that thing slip away against Kansas. But in terms of helping your resume, it'd be good if some of the Big Ten picks it up a little bit. Ohio State beating UCLA, Michigan State beating Baylor, Purdue doing what they did. It was a good day for the Big Ten, good for Illinois in terms of the resume.
All right, should be a fun one today. Should be a fun rest of the season. We'll be back again, of course, on Friday
night
in St. Louis, the 22nd. For bragging rights, definitely going to be a fun one there. But like I said, after the game on air, highlights online as well. We got all the coverage from this one for Derek. I'm Andy. Thanks for joining us before the game. Big Ten Network at noon. Go ahead and watch it there. We appreciate you joining us, and we will see you after the game.